Hi, welcome back. This is part 3, the cycle of transformation. And it's here where I want to discuss the power of process and why it's the key to your transformation. Transformation requires the right process and time to flourish. It's what we call the cycle of transformation. And this will empower you to understand how all this works and why it's so critical for anything you wish to accomplish in your life. And in this case, your financial life. And understanding this, my friend, is critical to your growth. Like seeds to flowers, caterpillars to butterflies, and coal to diamonds, it's all about a process. The main objective of ThrivePath is to create a unique and meaningful environment for you that causes massive biological change in your brain. And my vision for you is total financial transformation. But here's the key. It can and will be more than that. It's a yin and yang phenomenon. By changing your overall life and how you spend your time and energy and where your focus is, will have a massive impact on your financial life. But on the other side, by changing your financial life, you're going to transform everything about yourself as well. This is not an either-or adventure you're going through. Remember, traditional financial programs tend to treat all people the same, and therefore are in danger of limiting your ability to develop and strengthen the very brain activity where personal meaning is built within you. In other words, energy is directed away from your unique brain, and that may be one reason that many people just struggle to solve their financial challenges using those traditional methods. It's those traditional methods, the seminars, debt payment programs, the how-to books, and so on, is why this financial epidemic is only getting worse and not better. And as a result, more and more people are struggling to get off Pain Island. They keep swimming against that current, but continue to get pushed back on the rocks again and again and again. It's because too many people are focused on below-the-line solutions, the quick fix, while ignoring the most important facet, which is to engage in an effective, meaningful, and personalized process of transformation. The following illustration you're seeing is a different version from what I shared earlier. And this version demonstrates more about the outcomes from living above or below the line. Take a moment to slow think this. And I know we've been over this. I know. ThrivePath was designed to be a process. It's a process that focuses above the line. Every change requires a process. And when it comes to neuroscience, the more brain cells that fire, the more effective and more rapid your change will be. Behavioral change, the kind of transformation we're after here, just isn't going to happen until change happens in the brain. And you must incorporate a process in order to do so. This is all about the science behind ThrivePath. We're focused here on creating massive neural firings in your brain. And without that, real lasting change just won't happen. And that's where most other systems fail within the financial sector. They don't focus on this element. Today, we know that learning and long-term memory don't take place at the level of just a single cell. In 1949, Canadian scientist Donald Hebb put forth a theory of brain organization, and that led to the demise of the single-cell theory of learning. His theory is known as the Hebbian learning rule and has become the basis for the neuroscientific breakthrough, which is central to ThrivePath. Hebb's theory says that for learning and memory to occur, large numbers of neurons in your brain must all be activated at the same time. And this simultaneous activation produces changes in neurons, which creates long-term memory. As Francis Crick said, the co-discoverer of the structure of DNA, he says an individual neuron is in fact rather dumb. It's the intricate interaction of many of them all together that can do so many marvelous things. And just like most things we do in life, learning to walk was a process. A baby just doesn't get up and decide one morning to go wandering around the house, right? Learning to walk has meaning to a baby. She wants freedom. She wants independence. She wants to get up and move quickly. This doesn't take dedication, devotion, hard work, or commitment. Just like learning to walk, once you discover the process and embrace the reality that genuine, lasting financial peace is really possible, getting there becomes natural, a natural byproduct. And you'll crave the process and be all in on achieving that goal. But just as walking requires many things working together to accomplish, financial transformation requires many parts of your brain, the neurons and the synapses, working in tandem to happen as well. Your desire for financial peace is part of your nature. You want this, you desire this, and you'll get it. And hear this. Did you know the average child will fall 2,000 times before they finally master walking? Yeah, 2,000 times. It's a process, right? And like with our brain cells and structures, it requires many things working together to make it happen. You know, a lot of people think failures are bad things, but they're not. In fact, they can be the best thing for us and our growth. They are part of the process of learning as well, and of growth. As with any journey in life, we need to accept that it's a process and not just a simple few steps we'll take to and assume everything is going to be fine. You know, there's going to be a moment in your life, if it hasn't happened already, when you recognize something vital has just changed in your thought process and your belief system. And as we've discovered, new neurological growth, which represents new learning and ultimately new behaviors, cannot exist without attaching it to existing brain structures. And new learning and new changes to your behaviors depends on what's meaningful to you at your core. And it's built upon what you already know. And that's what I mean by those existing structures, what you already know and what's meaningful to you. But most behavior modification programs, those step-by-step guides, the self-help books, try to force you into making changes using reward and punishment methods. And they tend to fall short because they're only dependent on reward and punishment models. They don't understand the biological processes of the brain. So they are inadequate and even impotent to help you make lasting, real change in your life. And then suddenly, what may have started out as being novel, fun, and exciting, eventually, and even more often than not, too quickly, becomes mundane and boring, and you quit, or even downright problematic to your old belief systems you never addressed. Then, you have no desire to go on. But, as with those major historical events that hit home run and resonate in you for years or even the rest of your life, when real meaning is attached to events, they last and they endure, and so will you. This process always begins with an event, a decision, something that happens to you, and something you realize has been missing all this time. So, how do we maintain this environment for change? Well, in order for neuroplasticity to occur, we need a process that includes the neurological phenomena we call the cycle of transformation. This is all focused on neuroplasticity, which is the ability for the brain to quite literally change and adapt to meet your needs at an emotional, physical, and cognitive level. Let me repeat that because it's extremely important. Neuroplasticity is the ability for the brain to quite literally change and adapt to meet your needs at an emotional, physical, and cognitive level. And here's the kicker. No matter how old you are. That's right. If you understand the process you're embarking on and why real, lasting change happens as a result of all of this on a biological, neurological level, then you'll be quicker to embrace it all. You'll be quickly reminded when you get sucked back into another of those below-the-line solutions you chase. Because the process, in other words, the cycle of transformation, your transformation, is above the line. This is not a quick fix diet plan. Look, we all know diet fads are all the rage and have been so for decades. But if you dig deep, you'll probably see a direct correlation between the infusion of sugar into almost every food and beverage we intake as a way to increase sales of these unhealthy products. And once people started packing on the pounds, diet fads, pills, and exercise regimes became highly popular as they are today. Many of them, most, marketed themselves as the one and only solution you need to lose weight. I mean, some of them actually worked, but some didn't work at all. But what has been consistent through all of these years, almost every single person who lost weight on one of these quick fix diet fads ended up putting pounds back on. And many people will add even more weight than they had before. Why? Because they didn't address the key issue. they didn't address the neuroscience, the brain functions that kept their belief systems rooted in the wrong patterns. And again, age does not matter here. Look, here's a myth for you. We've often been told that 90% of the brain's development happens by the time we're 5, and that once that development is finished, that's it, and there's nothing we can do beyond that. Well, I'm telling you, that is patently false. What we have discovered is that we can create and strengthen new connections in the brain no matter the age at all. It doesn't matter. In other words, it's just like carving a path in the woods. The more you use certain paths, certain choices you make, the more entrenched and firm they become. And this is both a positive and negative scenario. Both our good and bad behaviors become entrenched and we get stuck in these patterns. That's why we need to understand that this is a process of change. And a tremendous byproduct of all of this is that your commitment to change and stay on the right path naturally occurs. It's a byproduct. Your level of commitment rises and you're no longer forcing or dragging yourself to take action or make appropriate and healthy decisions. Does that make sense? Is that resonating? Your brain has changed and has adopted the new habits and behaviors you want and need for long-term success. I mean, consider this. The number of synaptic connections in your brain provides more potential states of activation than there are atoms in the known universe. Think about that. We can't even comprehend just how big a number that is. Even if you were to live to the ripe old age of 100, you could only experience a minuscule percentage of all these potential firing possibilities. In fact, an infinitesimally small number. So, why do I tell you all this? Because it indicates there's virtually an infinite supply of options, of choices that you can make. Meaning, your future, your potential, your possibilities are literally endless. So, let me shift gears here a bit and give you the basics of the brain in a nutshell. Essentially, the brain is divided into areas that serve various purposes. Some control senses like sight and sound, while others are responsible for emotions and movement and various drives, memory, love, compassion, and anything else you do. Every part of the brain is constructed with and connected by neurons. Neurons may very well be the most ingenious biological structure this world has ever known. They are electrochemical conductors of information and relay stations for everything going on in your brain. And each neuron can receive and pass messages to and from hundreds of other neurons. And they are passed by neurochemicals that are released into the spaces between those neurons. If you've ever seen floating lanterns, which stems from Chinese tradition, this is kind of what's going on between neurons. And different neurochemicals do different things. What I'm trying to say here is you can actually set yourself up for or limit learning by your behaviors and choices you make. The more neurons that are engaged, the more likely change is possible. So in order to properly prepare our brains to embrace change, we have to work through the initial element in Thrive Path. That was your beliefs. And you've already begun the transformation. As we discovered, you have to analyze your beliefs. And when you do that, you engage neurons in memory and higher cortical functioning. Meaning, when we bring meaning into the picture, we are activating neuron-dense emotional centers and frontal lobe reasoning. And with awareness, element 3, when we are engaging in awareness without being judgmental, mind you, we are stimulating the neural pathways in the analytical, sensory, and decision-making centers of the brain. And we light up neurons in the motivational centers with insight. And with process, when we pledge our commitment to the process, we switch things from being consciously mindful to instinctively behavioral. And that's when genuine transformation occurs. With rituals, element 4, when you embrace healthy rituals and habits in your life, you begin to create those neural pathways and begin to forge new behaviors that put you in the zone towards your goals and your desires. And lastly, element 5, mentorship. When you engage with mentors who are accountable for your success, you accelerate your transformation like the accelerator on a race car, and your brain is now firing on all cylinders. That was just a quick high-level overview of the process you've embarked upon and how it all works. Now it's time to keep moving. All right, you ready for the third video? This is particularly powerful, I'm telling you. And it's titled Life, Death, and the Present Moment by Sam Harris. I mean, this really gets into your priorities, where your mind is focused and who it's focused with and how you're conducting yourself on a daily basis. Basically, how much time you're wasting that you may not even be aware of. And this can be a very emotional video, yet very liberating, I'm telling you. So please turn everything off, limit all your distractions, shut your door, and take the next 7 minutes to really focus on this video. And when you're done, I want you to ask yourself a few questions and jot down the answers and take as long as and much time as you need. So here they are. Where are you spending your time and with whom? Is it serving you well? How much time are you spending below the line? Is that serving you well? How much time are you spending on petty issues and bickering about little things that mean nothing to the future you desire? Is that serving you well? How much time do you spend thinking about your past guilts, past faults, past bad experiences, past wrongdoings by you and to you? And is that serving you well? And lastly, at this moment, what do you think your true purpose in life is? In the next element, element 2, we're going to take a deep dive into this topic. But I want you to write down what you think your true purpose in life is right now. And for this question and all the others, just write down what comes to mind. I want a free flow of thoughts and ideas. No judgment here. It's time to get very honest with yourself. It's just so important. All right, great stuff. Jump into the video and we'll see you in the final part of this stage, part 4, taking control once and for all. Keep up the amazing work. You may not know it or feel it, but you are taking huge strides and making huge progress in your life. Upward and onward. Take care.